Football Live right here in Classic Hits 100.1. Very glad you could join us on this Saturday morning. I know the season doesn't start until Thursday, but why not start it early? There's nothing wrong with that. Very glad you could join us here on this Saturday morning. And joining me on the phone, good friend of mine and a guy that a lot of people respect his opinion as far as MIAA football is concerned. It is Aaron Heinzelman. And Aaron, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, man. Looking forward to another year. And let's get it straight, man. D2 football is already underway up in the Northern Sun. They had a game Thursday night, the Battle of the Beavers. But I know we're talking MIAA football, so let's get it going.
And you know what? So much to talk about, Aaron. I'm going to give you the floor. Whereas you're going to basically guide this interview. There's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to. You give me a direction, and I will give you a question. Where do you want to go?
Well, that's interesting, Nate. Like you said, there's a lot to talk about in the MIAA. It was a very busy offseason. I mean, we've got 3 stories that would probably make the lead story out of any conference and almost any division of football. There's the UNO taking up and leaving and dropping their football program. There's Northwest Missouri, and then there's this case in Washburn with Vershawn Moore. But I think really the big story is UNO and how they get up. They real quickly, more quickly than usual, leave Division II, drop their football program and their wrestling program, and we'll never hear from them again.
Yeah, let's start there. You were the one who actually told me about this story. I could, in some instances, I wasn't surprised that UNO up and left, but at the same time, the way they did it really shocked me, and the fact that Trev Alberts, who played football at the University of Lincoln, you would think that he would want football a part of his program. For him to drop it, they must have been desperate to go to D1, don't you think?
Yeah, it was really interesting how they went about it, and just really kind of odd. They just dropped all the money into Rosenblatt Stadium up there and adding the scoreboard, and and coming into the MIAA just a couple of years ago, it seemed like they were really into football, and to pick up one night right after the wrestling team wins the national championship, and they get the call that night that no more program in football or wrestling, and we're moving on up. It's just an amazing development this offseason.
Yeah, and obviously we talk about football, but that is you brought it up, a national championship program in wrestling, and you have to feel for those kids. I mean, you feel for the football players as well, because they've had success over the years. Not a great 2010 campaign for the Mavericks, but this is a team that you thought coming into the season, and you bring everybody back. This UNO team, well, let's hypothetically put them in the MIAA this year. If they were playing, you got James Franklin, who's with Northwest now, back up in Omaha, Levi Terrell, who went D1, Greg Zerline, who's now at Mo West. Those guys aren't on different teams. They are back together. And what does this team do in the MIAA this season? I would think that they'd have a very good shot of winning this conference.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. If they were coming back with the running backs they would have had coming back, Terrell and Franklin were such a great pair to watch. And then with the returning quarterback, and we'll talk more about this in a few minutes, but in this conference this year, the quarterbacks are young and inexperienced, and the last couple of years have shown that an experienced quarterback is going to get you far in this league. So it certainly, it's a big blow for these players that had to scramble to find places to play. Luckily, the NCAA and MIAA dropped their rule on transfer players for this case in particular, and guys can go transfer wherever they found a new home and play right away this year, and they don't have to sit out a year as a redshirt.
And which is the right move to do, because when this happens so suddenly, that's really all you can do, because you have to feel for the players. All of them, committed to UNO for a reason. They wanted to be there. Now to have to go find someplace else to play football is a really sad deal. And unfortunately, Aaron, we're going to keep this moving along, because again, there's so much on the plate that I want to talk to you about. And with UNO not being in the conference, I don't want to give them too much time. I did want to touch on it, and I'm glad we did. Let's move on now. I want to go to Joplin. We'll get to Northwest here in a little bit, because they are a big deal, and I do want to get to Washburn as well. But I want to go down to Joplin. May 22nd, F5 tornado going through you heard of the tornado first off?
Well, obviously, being a D2 football guy, the first thing I thought about was what happened to the university. Not really knowing the entire the levity of the situation and how serious it was. I just thought, man, I hope the football stadium's okay. Hope the university is okay. And then in coming days, going into work at a Kansas City news station and really getting a chance to, not being there, but seeing all the images and talking directly to reporters and to people down there, pictures, video all week, all month long. It's just a crazy scenario that happened down there. And like you said, it's lucky for the university that they missed out, and good in a way that because they didn't get impacted directly by the damage of the tornado, they were able to turn themselves into a shelter, a makeshift, even a hospital, and a place for victims of the tornado to seek some refuge in the days afterward.
One of the deadliest tornadoes in U.S. history, and now Missouri Southern is, as most people do, they are diving into this Missouri Southern football team. Is that kind of put more pressure on these kids? I know that Missouri Southern's bringing back a decent core of people, but does that put a lot of pressure on this Missouri Southern team to kind of, bring back hope to a city that has been just so ravaged by a tornado?
I think it's a different situation than years in the past. I think a lot of people will be watching, hoping for some good news to come out of there. A lot of people probably even, the Missouri Southern being in Joplin, a lot of people already knew about the team and about the university, but I think a lot of people have more of a feeling of that, that's our home school now. That, for a lot of people, that literally was their home after the tornado. So a lot of people are going to be watching and really hoping that they can turn things around and get things going.
Final thing on Missouri Southern, you through D2Football.com have set up a program, and I know you want to talk about it. Just tell us a little bit about what people can do through D2Football.com to give donations, because they still do need donations down in Joplin.
Yeah, absolutely. We've teamed up with the Missouri Southern Foundation at D2Football.com, and I posted this on my blog, and I've made it easy to get to by going to tinyurl.com/JoplinD2, or you can just go to our website and find my blog through the forums page. And what we've done is with the Missouri Southern Foundation, they have a specific tornado emergency relief fund. And what that does is it goes to the students, staff, and faculty directly affected by that tornado. And, like we've been saying, the university itself didn't get hit, but, thousands of students live in Joplin. It's mostly a commuter school. Only about 800 students actually live on campus. The rest are from Joplin and surrounding areas, or at least live there while they go to school there. One faculty member and one student passed away in the tornado. Hundreds and hundreds lost their homes. 6 of the football staff were directly affected. 4 lost their homes, and 2 more lost their vehicles. So lots of students and everybody at Missouri Southern need help. And what the Missouri Southern Foundation is doing is they're collecting money, and they're awarding grants to students, staff, and faculty that were affected by this tornado. So it'll go to things like education expenses, expenses lost or money lost by people that lost their jobs in this, because lots of businesses in that southern edge of Joplin are just not there anymore. There's the Walmart, the Pizza Hut, the Target store. A lot of places people can't work anymore. They don't have jobs, so they've lost income, and it'll go towards lost computers, all kinds of things. So D2Football.com and I am really proud to team up with Missouri Southern this year and try to raise some money for their tornado emergency relief fund. And again, that's tinyurl.com/JoplinD2. You can go there. You can read a little bit about the tornado and what Joplin did and how it affected the university. And it'll give you a link to go to the Missouri Southern Foundation website. And all you have to do is when you make a donation, you have to choose an option of where you want it to go. One of those options is the D2 Football Fund. And we want to raise a lot of money for Missouri Southern because they really need it.
And again, we're talking to Aaron Heintzelman, the columnist for the MIAA, writing for D2Football.com. And Aaron, let's shift gears now. Let's head down to Topeka and Washburn. This is a football team. Me and you talked very highly of this MIAA next year. So we'll possibly see Desir in the next couple of years in a Lindenwood uniform. But those are two big pieces of Washburn's team that we're going to make a really good run at Northwest for the MIAA crown. How do you see Washburn now that they're without Moore and Desir?
Well, Ken Corbett talked about it earlier, and I think he was spot on. Justin Cooper is a good running back, and they were going to share the load pretty well this year. Vershawn Moore was obviously the guy, but now he's the guy in a federal penitentiary. So Cooper, I think, can really step up and do some things. The secondary is really going to take a big loss without this here, and we wish him well in his family issues, and he can be closer to home now and still play football in the MIAA. So we'll see him again. Don't worry, MIAA fans. If you like Pierre Desir, he'll be around again. But yeah, I actually picked them as my preseason MIAA winner. This was before these developments that I submitted my vote. I wasn't the only one. There's plenty of media members that picked the Washburn Ichabods to win the conference, and I think they still have a chance to be really competitive. I don't think this drops them off too much. The big thing, I mentioned it before, is the quarterback situation in the MIAA. It's a lot, Northwest Missouri, Central Missouri, Missouri Western, three of the top teams in the league. In fact, the three playoff teams from last year all lose their stud quarterbacks. So Dane Semino, coming back for his senior season, is the guy in the MIAA, and it's just so important to have a highly performing quarterback. We've talked about this before, Nate. You can run the ball, you can play good defense, but if you don't have a good quarterback in this conference, you're going to be in some trouble.
And again, Washburn opening up the season at Sioux Falls. You actually got to talk to the Sioux Falls head football coach. Don't know a lot about them. I know they were empowering NAIA. Talk to me a little bit about Sioux Falls and what Washburn and as well as Northwest, what they're getting themselves into in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been talking to a couple of people about this team, and like you said, I talked to their coach, and I have that posted on my YouTube page. Coach Jed Stugart, he's confident that unlike a lot of teams, that come from the NAIA into Division II, this is their first year provisionally in D2, so they're officially in, but they're not eligible for the postseason. But they have mostly a D2 schedule with a couple other NAIA and even one or two FCS teams on their schedule. But he's confident they can come in and compete right away. I don't see a reason why they can't. They've been historically known for their defense. Last year they had a great quarterback who graduated, so they've got a few questions at quarterback. They haven't named, as of yesterday morning, they hadn't named a starting quarterback. They've got a couple guys, a guy actually from the transfer from Division II from Cal, PA, transferred over there, and then another guy from New Mexico State. Now, both of them didn't play quarterbacks at their previous schools. You have to go back to high school before they were quarterbacks, but he's confident in both of them. He says it's a coin flip. He could go either way. This team, NAIA powerhouse is taking it lightly. This is like the Northwest Missouri or even the Grand Valley State of that level. They've been in several championship games. They won back-to-back a couple of years ago. They were in another title game last year and couldn't win in Coach Jed Stugart's first year. So it's a team that I think can compete at this level right away. With their questions at quarterback, they might have a little trouble. They are also a little weak on the receiving side. They lost a couple of their best receivers to graduation. Their star tight end is out for the season with an injury. So I think Washburn and Northwest, are both going to go into this game, even Washburn on the road, as favorites. But don't be surprised if you see Sioux Falls give either or both of these teams a battle.
And let's talk about Northwest. I do want to wrap up